My husband, Victor, took money from his mistress and brought it home to me, his wife. Victor had recently lost his job, yet his luck seemed incredibly good. He'd won 88,000 in the lottery and even scooped a fancy beauty machine in a supermarket raffle. Then, just yesterday, while taking out the trash, he found a box full of gold jewelry, which he also brought home to me. But the more I thought about it, the more something felt utterly wrong. When I vented online, people immediately swarmed with comments, warning it must be ill-gotten gains and advising me to hire an investigator to get to the bottom of it. While I was still reeling, I read a highly liked comment. Maybe he has a mistress outside. A few days ago, some rich lady posted about suspecting her lover of theft. Oh my God, my heart pounded. I quickly scrolled through the link to the post. Sure enough, every single item that rich lady claimed to have lost was identical to the spoils my husband had brought home. Just as I was contemplating calling the police, he transferred 200,000 yuan to me. For heaven's sake, what was there to consider anymore? He was stealing from others to support me. Was I supposed to just turn a blind eye and let it go? The wave of AI had hit our home, you see. Victor had been a contract worker for a state-owned enterprise for nearly 8 years when, out of the blue, he was laid off without a peep. But what incredibly good fortune. Right after losing his job, he hit the jackpot during a strict inspection on the 15th of the month, receiving a compensation of 2,000 yuan. Despite being unemployed, he wasn't disheartened at all. He still left early in the morning and came home late at night, just like he was going to work. When I asked, he'd say he wasn't used to sitting idle and had to go out and find work. But it was strange. Every day he came home, he brought me something. On his first day of unemployment, he came back with a stack of 80,000 yuan in cash, claiming he'd won the lottery. On the second day, he brought home an expensive beauty machine from a famous brand, saying it was a prize from a supermarket anniversary raffle. On the third day, while I was free at home, I went downstairs to throw out the trash and found an exquisite box. I even teased him, saying he was so poor he was picking up other people's garbage. Who knew? When I opened it, inside was nothing but 24K gold jewelry, at least 8 ounces of pure gold. At current gold prices, that was easily 700,000 yuan. I was shocked, speechless. How could this man be so incredibly lucky? But there's no such thing as something falling from the sky so easily. With the spirit of returning lost property, I asked around in the resident group repeatedly. I even asked the building's security guards and cleaners, but everyone said no one had reported any lost items. I was about to call the police when he stopped me. He swore on his life that he had found it in the trash can. Someone must not need it anymore, so no one will claim it, he insisted. I was swayed by him, half believing, half doubting as I asked, "Did you really pick it up from the trash? You're not doing anything shady, are you?" He raised both hands and swore, "Anna, I swear on my life, I really picked it up from the trash." He even showed me a video of him discovering the gold box in the trash. Convinced against my better judgment, I kept the ownerless gold box. But that night, before going to bed, the more I thought about it, the more something felt wrong. Who would throw such a huge box of gold into the trash? I couldn't hold back anymore. While he was sound asleep, I secretly went online to ask for help. The online community was just like me. No one believed that something so good could simply fall from the sky. Everyone said it was ill-gotten gains, advising me to either spend it quickly or donate it to avoid bringing trouble upon myself. Some suggested calling the police or hiring an investigator to see if my husband had problems. Others, with wilder imaginations, guessed he was under too much pressure and had resorted to selling himself to earn money. Then I scrolled and saw a viral comment. Maybe he has a mistress outside. A few days ago, some rich lady complained, suspecting her lover of theft. My heart skipped a beat. Following the netizens' guidance, I immediately looked up that post. After reading it, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. The author of the post was a famous rich woman online. Her 3 most recent posts were all about missing items. Initially, she was looking for them, then she escalated to severe cursing. Especially in the 3rd post, she suspected the lover she was supporting had stolen the items. And the items she lost matched, to an uncanny degree, the things my husband had brought home. Damn it! Could this scoundrel really be the mistress's kept man? I continued to read the comments below the online post and was horrified to realize a flood of bitter curses and contempt. There was no sympathy for her, only indignation and terrible insults. The further I scrolled, the more I understood the whole story. It turned out she was a genuine homewrecker, specialized in destroying other people's family happiness. Even more despicable, she was a two-timing mistress, openly being the mistress of a rich man while also using his money to support her own young toy boy. She even brazenly bragged about enjoying the feeling of freedom, fluttering between two, quality, men, fully indulging in the pleasures and excitements life offered. The most disgusting thing was that she posted these things not to seek advice or a warning, but simply to flaunt her achievements in front of helpless wives, using her success to trample on the pain of others. The online community, witnessing such a twisted personality and distorted values, did not spare any curses or insults whenever she posted anything. Yet she didn't seem to care about those words, still brazenly posting videos showing off her extravagant and decadent mistress life. One moment, she just stepped out of the rich man's bed and was rushing off to swim happily with her young toy boy. Another time, she would calmly invite a whole group of male models to her house for fun. Her life was nothing short of a luxurious poem from the Tang dynasty. Oh my God, this was the first time in my life I'd witnessed such an arrogant and brazen mistress. As one of the wives who suffered heartbreak because of a mistress, I felt choked with rage. No wonder my husband had been secretly bringing money home lately. It turned out he had betrayed me, secretly doing these dirty deeds behind my back. It was one thing to have an affair, but to bring stolen goods home was truly unacceptable. My conscience gnawed at me, and I tossed and turned all night. The next morning, as I was still debating whether I should tell him to secretly return the money or report him to the police, my phone suddenly vibrated with an incoming message. I opened it and nearly fainted from shock. My Alipay account notified me, "Your account has just received 200,000 yuan. A burst of anger made my mind float in the air for a second. Trying to calm down, I shakily picked up the phone and called Victor. He answered very quickly, his voice cheerful. "Sweetheart, I just transferred some money to you. Did you get it?" I tried to keep my composure, asking indifferently, "What money? You're unemployed. Where would you get money to send me?" Unexpectedly, he chuckled smugly. "Didn't I tell you I borrowed 30,000 from you to invest a while ago? My old partner, the one who studied abroad, he just came back to the country. Guess what happened? That doomed project from back then, he revived it overseas." After hearing that, I could only sneer to myself. This man truly fabricated stories like he breathed. He must think I'm an idiot. That partner had fled abroad with money after a failed investment. If I hadn't accidentally stumbled upon a video of gangsters beating up a homeless person on an overseas social media platform recently and recognized his face, I would have been fooled by my husband for even longer. But regardless, the money had indeed been transferred to my account. Looking at that long string of zeros, my heart began to waver, tearing itself apart. We had been married for 15 years, and our love had deepened over time. Our son had been in boarding school since middle school, and I had become a full-time housewife. My in-laws were very kind to me. Our house and car were all in my name. I truly couldn't believe where he found the courage to have an affair, and with someone like Quinn, who seemed to be several notches above him in status. Compared to other husbands who use family money to support a mistress, I, the legitimate wife, was actually being supported by him. From a different perspective, perhaps he just wanted to earn more money to provide for the family. It was his own body he was selling, not anyone else's. Even though he was unemployed now, he still dared to steal Quinn's elder care money to support me. So what exactly had he done wrong? Even though I reasoned this way, I still felt incredibly uneasy and anxious. After finishing lunch, I decided to go to a law firm to inquire about the whole situation. The lawyer told me I had absolutely nothing to worry about. Adults must take responsibility for their own actions. This was just a normal transfer between a husband and wife, completely unrelated to outsiders. Furthermore, Quinn and Victor already had an illicit relationship. If she lost any assets, she would have to bear it herself. Because my husband didn't just appear in her house, and money didn't just magically appear on his phone. Especially since she was two-timing, she was full of weaknesses. If this matter came to light, she would not only be morally condemned, but could also have her assets reclaimed by the rich man's official wife, or even be sued in court. After all the wealth she had was given to her by rich men. Hearing this, I suddenly understood. No wonder Quinn called my husband again and again, always right after she had finished serving those rich old men. Could it be that after being yelled at and humiliated, she sought out my husband to vent her anger? So my husband was nothing but a punching bag for her to release her frustration? He was willing to be Quinn's punching bag, and then he would secretly use that sold body money to bring home for his wife to spend. He had already lost his job and still had the audacity to steal Quinn's elder care money and bring it home. It was infuriating. So what was there for me to hesitate about anymore? My husband stole Quinn's money to support me. Should I really just turn a blind eye and pretend nothing happened? Unfortunately, life doesn't always go as one wishes. The next day, Victor returned home looking clearly uneasy. A button had fallen off his shirt, and there was a small scratch on his forehead. I hesitated for a while before daring to ask, "Did you get into a fight with someone while looking for a job?" He just forced a smile and brushed it off. "It's nothing, darling. I just tripped on the way." It seemed he didn't want to tell me the truth, so I didn't press him further. After dinner, Victor paced back and forth in the living room, even wearing clothes that looked like what electricians or plumbers wear. I pretended not to notice his strange behavior, but deep down, I was sure he was preparing to go out. Perhaps it wasn't time for his appointment yet, which was why he seemed so restless and uneasy. I deliberately teased him. "What's wrong? Can't sleep tonight? Planning to sneak out and steal some cows?" Victor glanced at me, then said seriously, "Anna, I have to go out for a while later. I might not be home tonight." My heart seemed to stop for a beat. Was he planning to do something shady again? Suddenly remembering Quinn's cryptic post, I continued to joke. "At this hour, are you still planning to rummage through trash cans for gold? Aren't you afraid of being caught as a thief?" He glared at me. "Who said I'm picking up trash?" I cleared my throat softly, trying to choose my words carefully. "I don't mean anything by it, it's just that you've been so lucky lately. What if the sleeping god of wealth suddenly notices?" I couldn't outright say that Quinn had started suspecting him, so I could only speak in veiled terms. I hoped his usually sensible mind would sober up in time. Anyway, he should rein it in a bit. I was still hoping for more interesting developments in this story, after all. Unexpectedly, he didn't understand my hint at all. He stared at me. "What are you thinking, wife? A friend asked me for some help with something, and she's not home during the day." I put my hand to my forehead, pretending to be curious. "What kind of work needs to be done at night? Can it wait until morning?" Before I could finish my sentence, his phone rang. He immediately answered, his expression turning very serious. "Don't worry, I'm on my way." I stood beside him, wanting to say something more, but stopped myself. He put on his shoes while explaining to me, "My old colleague, her house has a burst water pipe. I'm going over to help her fix it." After saying that, he grabbed his toolbox and rushed out the door. His speed was so fast, it made me want to applaud. As soon as he left, I immediately opened Quinn's social media page to await news. Sure enough, about 20 minutes later, she updated with a new post. This time, no video, just 2 close-up photos. One showed her bedroom flooded with water. The other was a photo of Victor's back, hunched over, tightening a water pipe on the floor, accompanied by a short caption. "Whose husband is so good? He's willing to come help in the middle of the night." After seeing those photos, I just wanted to burst out laughing. This Quinn still liked to show off as always, but her intelligence was truly concerning. What man could predict that he would have to fix someone else's water pipe tonight? From the moment we finished dinner, he had been restless, preparing his tools. This time, he fixed her water pipe until past 4:00 a.m. Victor dragged himself home when I was already fast asleep. He was so exhausted he couldn't even bother to shower, just quickly changed into his pajamas and collapsed into bed immediately. I looked at his tired face, scrutinizing him from head to toe. Besides 2 new scratches on his hand, there was no trace of lipstick, nor any strange perfume smell. Could it be that he really only fixed water pipes all night? 8:00 a.m. the next morning, he woke up, ate breakfast on time, dressed neatly, and prepared to go out. In his hand, he held the gold box he had found the other day. Seeing me look, he casually said, "Anna, can I borrow this box for a bit?" I felt a little strange but didn't press him, just smiled and asked, "What's so great about an empty box? Why don't you take the gold too?" He replied, "It's just for holding some small odds and ends. It doesn't cost money." He was about to ask me something when he quickly added in a sweet tone, "Oh, right, it seems like you haven't bought anything for yourself in a long time, have you? Be good, go shopping this afternoon. Buy whatever you like, take any handbag you fancy. I'll transfer money to your account so you can spend freely, no need to worry about anything." I was stunned. No more spending limits? Did this mean he had found a new way to earn money? He was usually very stingy, rarely so generous, so I didn't stand on ceremony and immediately agreed. All right, then I'll go shopping this afternoon. By noon, a new post from Quinn, my husband's mistress, answered all my questions. In her latest video, a pair of meticulously cared-for hands gently caressed sparkling, brilliant gold jewelry. The camera slowly panned to the side, revealing a luxurious jewelry box placed beside a rare and beautiful bouquet of blue roses. Accompanying it was a short, cryptic caption. Sorry, it turns out I misunderstood him. She even enthusiastically replied to fan comments, explaining that the previously lost jewelry was because her lover saw it was dusty and had taken it to the goldsmith for careful cleaning and maintenance. She lavished praise on my husband, calling him thoughtful, considerate, and someone who knew how to surprise her. After finding her precious jewelry, Quinn began to boast about the so-called perfect life she was enjoying. However, deep down, I started to have profound doubts. Was the jewelry she was flaunting real? Because this morning, when he left the house, my husband only carried an empty box, while the heavy gold was still safely tucked away in my dresser drawer at home. After some thought, a hypothesis gradually formed in my mind, an unverified but incredibly interesting one. It seemed my husband had successfully regained Quinn's trust. That evening, when he returned home, a bright smile was on his face, and the band-aid on his forehead had been replaced. At dinner, he excitedly told me he had found a new job. However, this job was unrelated to his previous profession. It was construction and home renovation. Half believing, half doubting, I asked, "You're a designer, why are you suddenly becoming a construction worker?" He calmly explained, "Actually, design and construction are inherently inseparable. Plus, remember when our house was renovated? Didn't I oversee the entire process myself?" Thinking back to how he had personally drawn up dozens of detailed plans to save costs, I didn't ask anything further. The next morning, he excitedly bought a new set of tools and officially began his new job. For 2 consecutive days, Victor had to work overtime and didn't get home until late at night. On the 3rd day, he even proactively told me to go to bed first and not wait for him. During that time, I accidentally discovered that Quinn's social media IP, Internet Protocol, address had changed. I began to wonder if my husband had taken Quinn on a trip somewhere. But then, he unexpectedly returned home at 2:00 a.m. He was wearing an old, faded security guard uniform, a baseball cap pulled low over his face, and a tight black mask. He looked no different from someone fleeing across the border. I groggily woke up, rubbed my eyes, and asked him, "You just got back. What are you carrying?" My husband quickly shut all the windows and doors, then pulled me into the bathroom and opened the sack. Inside was a roll of old electrical wire, covered in dust and mud. Before I could ask anything, he used a knife to cut a section of the wire. Underneath the dirty casing, a bright golden color shone. Its color and material looked exactly like the jewelry he had stolen from Quinn's place. I was stunned and asked with difficulty, "This is..." Victor cleared his throat a few times, then calmly replied, "This is old electrical wire removed from the guest house. The owner said they didn't need it anymore, so I secretly brought it back." Seeing his sneaky, furtive expression, I truly found it hard to believe. He then casually explained further, "You don't know, those rich people don't use ordinary copper wire. They use 24K pure gold electrical wire." I gasped and asked again, "Victor, do you mean all of this is real gold?" He nodded seriously and said, "That's right, that's why I had to dress like this so no one would recognize me." My mind became tangled and dizzy. Thinking about his strange actions over the past few days, and then linking it to fixing Quinn's water pipe, a complete picture gradually formed in my head. If I wasn't mistaken, the truth was probably like this. He accidentally discovered that all the electrical wires in Quinn's house were made of pure gold, so he took advantage of her inattention and deliberately damaged the water pipes. When Quinn returned home to find the house flooded, she quickly called her lover, my husband, to fix it. He took this opportunity to both win her favor and regain her trust. After returning the gold jewelry, he used the excuse of taking it to a goldsmith for polishing to regain her trust. Once trust was restored, he didn't miss the opportunity, volunteering to undertake the house renovation project. During the renovation, he secretly replaced the entire gold wiring system in the house. At the time, I had found it strange and suspected why a professional designer like him would suddenly start carrying cement and become a construction worker. It turned out he had discovered a new gold mine. But thinking about the large roll of gold electrical wire still in the house, I couldn't feel at ease. My husband seemed to read my thoughts and quickly reassured me. "Don't worry, I already have a buyer for it. In a few days, it will all be converted into cash for you. I guarantee you won't have to worry about anything." I felt both amused and a little bitter. It wasn't even fully light yet, and he had already changed his clothes to go to work. He said he had to work quickly before the homeowner returned, installing the new wiring system to avoid being discovered. Meanwhile, Quinn's social media page updated with new photos. For half a month, while her house was being renovated, she and her rich lover went on a romantic birthday trip to Manover. In the posted videos, they looked very happy. Yet, deep in her eyes and at the corners of her mouth, a faint sadness hid complex emotions for that man. Through every word, every status update, I perceived the mixed emotions of love and hatred tearing at her heart. Before I could delve deeper into Quinn's story, she posted her plane ticket back to the country. Just then, Victor also arrived home. He announced that the renovation project had been completed smoothly and that he would continue to look for other jobs from now on. He gave me a sum of 150,000 yuan, saying it was the deducted amount from the construction costs. I calmly accepted the money, feeling no pressure at all. The lawyer had instructed me that no matter where the money came from, as long as my husband earned it through hard work, I should just take it. The money was handed directly to me. It would be a waste not to take it. I had thought that after Quinn returned to the country, my husband's path to earning money would be cut off. But unexpectedly, just a few days later, my personal account continuously received transfers. Each time it was 10,000 yuan or more, the amounts varying. But this time, Quinn didn't post any new updates, making it impossible for me to guess where my husband was getting the money. Too curious, I decided to secretly follow my husband out. That day, he wandered around the wholesale market for a long time, then went straight to the largest delivery station near our house. I didn't know what he was busy with there. He didn't leave until noon. After he was out of sight, I secretly ran from the nearby coffee shop to inquire. From the delivery workers, I learned that he had rented a private storage unit at the station, specializing in storing old shoes and handbags, which he then sold online. I quickly glanced at the goods. They were all genuine luxury brand items. I didn't need to guess. I knew exactly where they came from, undoubtedly from Quinn's house. I was so amused I could have died. This man was truly too greedy. He didn't even spare her clothes. His audacity was also immense. He wasn't afraid of being exposed. But indeed, he was never exposed. His business went incredibly smoothly, selling like hotcakes. Some days, his revenue even reached over 2 million yuan. He didn't keep a single cent of the money he earned for himself, but transferred it all directly to my personal account. Thanks to Quinn's blessings, I also benefited, becoming a wealthy woman, earning hundreds of millions every day. Fearing my suspicion, he even fabricated a perfectly plausible reason, saying he had been playing the stock market with friends lately and made a little pocket money. I didn't bother to expose him. The money was already in my hand, so why bother pursuing it? Unfortunately, those glorious days only lasted for a mere half a month. Half a month later, my husband seemed gloomy for several days. Finally, he proactively suggested divorce. The reason he gave for the divorce was that he now had money and the children were grown, so he wanted to move into a bigger house. "Anna, how about we pretend to get a divorce?" I thought for a moment, then couldn't help but expose him. "Finally, you can't keep up the act anymore, can you?" He looked bewildered and asked, "Wife, what are you talking about?" I suddenly lost all interest and replied with a cold smile, "Don't think that after the divorce you can marry her and inherit her assets." He looked at me with extreme shock. "You know everything?" Recalling the days of conflict and torment in my heart, I calmly replied, "I knew long ago. I was just waiting for you to tell me yourself." He froze like a stone statue, his eyes briefly showing a heartbreaking pain, a clear expression of deep hurt. I sneered, a cold, indifferent smile, and without hesitation, I unleashed my sharpest words, stabbing directly into his bleeding heart. "You probably don't even know that she's not some rich and powerful socialite. She's just a mistress, a woman who is kept, given money to enjoy herself in her spare time. Her keeping you was just a bitter act of revenge aimed at that rich man. Whenever he pressured or bullied her, she came to you to vent her anger, to soothe the hurt and resentment in her heart. I continued to dig into the raw truth without mercy. You thought you were giving genuine love, that you had captured her heart, but the brutal reality is that you were nothing more than a mobile trash can, a place for her to discard her negative emotions and frustrations. I unleashed the most vicious words, sentences filled with all the anger and disappointment that had been suppressed for over 2 months. The truth is, no woman in this world can easily forgive her husband's infidelity and deception. Even if they once had a beautiful love, even if the other person had once loved and nurtured this family. But betrayal is still betrayal, emotional wounds are still emotional wounds, and no matter how much effort is made to compensate, it can never erase what has happened. My husband was silent for a long time, seemingly trying to digest the bitter truth that had just been exposed. Finally, he admitted that everything I said was true. He confessed all his mistakes and proactively offered to leave empty-handed, accepting the loss of everything in exchange for liberation. I did not hesitate. That same afternoon, I went with him to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize the divorce. We ended a marriage that had long been rotting. Once the procedures were complete, he handed me a bank card with a somber voice. This is the money from selling that roll of electrical wire. Consider it the last time I can contribute to this family, a belated compensation for the mistakes I've made. I couldn't suppress the curiosity and bitterness in my heart as I asked him, "Victor, why did you do all of this? What was your real objective?" He hesitated for a long time, seemingly wrestling with his thoughts, finally just saying, "Anna, it's come to this, I don't want to say much more. I only beg one thing of you. Please don't tell our parents and children about this divorce. I don't want them to be heartbroken and disappointed by what happened between us." I gave a cold laugh, a laugh filled with derision and bitterness. "You still want me to continue acting as a happy couple in front of our parents and children, pretending nothing happened, as if we are still a happy family?" He nodded, his eyes full of pleading. "Please just consider it a fake divorce. After some time, when things settle down, we can remarry and start over. I promise I'll change." I gave him a contemptuous look, said nothing, then calmly took the bank card from his hand, turned my back, and walked away without looking back. If he wanted to act, why shouldn't I grant him his wish? I already had my own plan. Upon returning home, I eagerly used my phone to check the balance in the bank account I had just received and almost fainted from the immense sum. Over 90 million yuan. Indeed, a lifetime of hard work for ordinary people like us couldn't compare to a bit of gold scattered from the cracks in Quinn's wall. This windfall immediately swept away all the gloomy and sad feelings about the divorce. Holding the divorce papers in my hand, I secretly gloated. This time, I've profited greatly. Time passed until one day I accidentally saw Quinn post a pregnancy test photo on social media. As soon as my husband moved out, Quinn flaunted her happiness again, seemingly wanting to spite me. This time, her secret lover finally revealed himself. It seemed the rich man had been dumped, and she had successfully climbed to the position of legitimate wife, achieving her goal. Sure enough, a few days later, they registered their marriage. While showing off their dazzling red marriage certificate, she also included her pregnancy test results as a confirmation of her perfect happiness. She said she thanked God that 2 great joys in her life came on the same day. This time, I no longer avoided or evaded. I straightforwardly commented, congratulating her, a fake but necessary blessing to end everything. Afterward, I quickly uninstalled that social media app and blocked all contact with Victor, determined to cut all ties with the past. However, because my face couldn't hide my true emotions, the divorce with him was eventually discovered by our 2 children. After I explained everything truthfully, both siblings unhesitatingly stood by my side. They promised to love their mother even more, to make up for the pain I had endured. As for both sets of parents, they were still living in the countryside. I wanted to hide it for as long as possible. I didn't want them to worry and be sad. After the Lunar New Year, I took the children and moved to another city to start a new life. I opened a small bakery near home, specializing in the Chinese-style pastries I was best at. My skills were not bad. The shop was crowded with customers every day. My 2 children would come help me whenever they were off school. Life passed simply, but was fulfilling, warm, and happy. Until 6 months later, a man carrying a baby stormed into my bakery. He looked rushed and anxious, shoving the diaper-clad baby into my arms, saying urgently, "Anna, can you help me take care of this baby for a while? I'm facing some difficult problems and can't take care of her." I stood frozen, my mind blank for a brief moment, followed by an explosion of anger that made me laugh out loud. Victor, are you out of your mind? We're divorced and you still want me to be a free nanny for you? He didn't offer any explanation but simply tossed a rather heavy backpack to me. There's a bank card in here, the password is your birthday. There's also some cash, just use it freely. Just help me take care of the baby for a few days. Her mother is in critical condition, in the ICU. My throat choked, the curses I was about to unleash swallowed back. My heart was incredibly hesitant, unsure whether to accept this hot potato, when he hastily turned and walked away. And that departure lasted for over 3 months. He completely vanished from my life. Thinking about the decent amount of money in the backpack, I reluctantly accepted to keep the baby. The baby was incredibly well-behaved, ate very easily, and would eat anything. She didn't cry during the day and didn't ask for her father at night. There was only one thing. Her physical constitution seemed a bit special. She was very prone to allergies, breaking out in red rashes all over her body. I tried switching to 3 different types of formula, but she still got rashes, and even wearing ordinary disposable diapers irritated her skin. Finally, I was out of options and had to spend a large sum of money to hire a wet nurse to breastfeed the baby. And since disposable diapers couldn't be used, I had to painstakingly wash cloth diapers every day. Later, I realized that this extremely sensitive and uncomfortable constitution was actually inherited from her noble father. The next time I saw Victor was at the gate of the apartment complex. He looked visibly thinner, his clothes old and worn, clearly not changed or washed in a long time. Beside his feet was a pile of cluttered luggage, and he held a household registration booklet in his hand. He looked no different from a homeless wanderer squatting on the ground, his eyes staring blankly into the distant, uncertain future. I walked closer to him, deliberately using a sarcastic tone to taunt him. "Oh, my ex-husband is this miserable now, huh, what did I say? People who degrade themselves, no matter how high they try to climb, won't last. So what now, did your new wife kick you out?" He slowly raised his head to look at me, his eyes red as if he was about to cry, looking as if he was begging for forgiveness. I felt immensely gloated. My eyes accidentally scanned the household registration booklet in his hand. I continued to mock him. "What's this? Planning to sell your daughter to make a living now?" Although I mentioned the baby, he didn't refute a word, just silently looked at me with deep sorrow. Finally, I couldn't hold back anymore and blurted out, "Victor, you beast! Are you planning to abandon your wife and child again? Even if you gave me money, we've been divorced for a long time. On what grounds do you expect me to raise your child?" After I had finished my gloating tirade, he choked out a single sentence. "Anna, let's remarry." I gave him a sharp glare. "You must have lost your mind. Are you dreaming in broad daylight?" He was silent for a moment, then whispered in a trembling voice, "The baby's mother, she's dead." I froze on the spot. Seeing that I still didn't believe him, he quickly held up the household registration booklet for me to see. I just completed the death registration and removed her from the household registry. I stood stunned, completely speechless. Later, I learned that Quinn had actually broken up with Martin a long time ago. Involved in noisy love triangle disputes, Martin's wife even sued to reclaim assets. To protect her massive wealth, Quinn had long ago used my husband, Victor, to secretly transfer all her assets. That's right, every item my husband stole, every amount of money he transferred, she knew about it clearly. She knew and she agreed to it. She even secretly allowed him to use our marital status to legally transfer assets to me. Even our divorce was used as a reason for compensation due to infidelity, putting all assets into my hands. I was both shocked and unable to comprehend the woman I once looked down upon as a mistress, and even more unable to comprehend the man standing before me. Immediately after that conversation, Victor left once again. The baby remained with me, this time no longer related to money. It was simply because I feared that in his agitated state, he might do something crazy that would harm an innocent life. Because he had told me that the baby's mother's death was not an accident, but a deliberate murder. At home with free time, I logged into my old social media account that I hadn't used in a long time. As soon as I logged in, I saw an unread message from Quinn. She wrote, "Sister Anna, I'm sorry. Because of my selfishness, I destroyed your family. If there is a next life, I am willing to be your ox or horse to repay you." I paused, a little stunned. So she really knew everything, even my social media account. However, I couldn't find any more information about her. Her personal social media page no longer had any new posts or any signs of where she was or what she was doing. It wasn't until one day, when Victor visited the children and showed me a final video she had saved in her drafts, that the curtain of secrecy was pulled back, revealing the cruel truth. In reality, she was not the hateful third party as rumored. On the contrary, she and the man she deeply loved, Martin, were childhood sweethearts, a perfect match that anyone who witnessed them would admire. Their love was once a beautiful dream, filled with happiness and sweet memories. Unfortunately, life is full of unpredictable twists. Cruel fate had destined them for a sorrowful and regretful end. Though they were meant to be, they lacked the destined fortune. The real name of Quinn that everyone called her was Quinn Yen, and few knew that she was once the pampered daughter of the Yen family, a renowned and influential real estate conglomerate in High City. But then, disaster struck. The Yen family rapidly declined, and her parents passed away one after another, leaving her to bear everything alone. At this time, the Martin's family, especially his parents, vehemently opposed the relationship between her and Martin. They believed that Quinn Yen was unworthy of Martin and that this marriage would bring no benefit to the Martin family. She had thought that their love for each other was strong enough to overcome all obstacles and prejudices. But unexpectedly, at the most crucial and challenging moment, Martin betrayed her. He accepted the arranged marriage by his family, marrying the daughter of the Stella family, a powerful and well-matched family in terms of status and wealth. Quinn Yen, utterly heartbroken and disappointed, willingly became his mistress, accepting the role of a canary kept outside by Martin. Perhaps living in a gilded cage for too long also made one feel stifled and bored. Coupled with resentment towards cruel fate and anger at being betrayed by the man she loved, she secretly used Martin's money to support a younger lover. After all, she was spending the money of the man who had betrayed her. She felt no pressure or guilt. Quinn Yen indulging in secret pleasures behind Martin's back was actually just a way for her to silently exact revenge on him, a way to soothe her broken and scarred heart. On one hand, she wanted to hold onto his affection and attention. On the other hand, she secretly betrayed him, seeking balance to fill the voids in her soul. Quinn Yen once thought it was just a harmless game, a way to vent her frustrations, but the reality was far crueler than she imagined. One day, by chance, she discovered that her family's bankruptcy was not a coincidence, but due to someone secretly manipulating things behind the scenes. And her parents' deaths were not simple accidents. Suspicious and uneasy, she began to relentlessly investigate the truth, determined to uncover all the hidden facts. In the end, she discovered that the person behind all these tragedies was none other than the man she loved most, Martin. All the suffering and loss she had endured all this time were caused by the very person who had once sworn eternal love and promised a beautiful future with her. The extreme disappointment transformed the love within her into a pure, burning hatred that nothing could extinguish. But just as Quinn Yen hated Martin more than ever, she discovered she was pregnant. This child was the only remaining drop of her blood in the world, the crystallization of love and hatred. She couldn't bear to abandon this innocent little life. After a long struggle between reason and emotion, she finally decided to secretly give birth to the baby, to give her child a chance to live and see the light of day. That's why she lured Martin to Manover, intentionally staging a scene for his wife, Stella, to catch them red-handed, creating a huge scandal. Under pressure from both the Stella and Martin families, Martin was finally forced to completely cut ties with Quinn Yen. She agreed, but also demanded a large sum of money from him as compensation for the harm she had endured. After breaking up with Martin, wanting her unborn child to have a complete, albeit imperfect, family, she proposed marriage to Victor. She confessed that she never expected that when Victor came back and proposed to me, I would accept so easily. I didn't even make it difficult for him or reproach him a single word. At the end of the video, Quinn Yen knelt down to apologize to me, expressing remorse for her actions. She also personally clarified that between her and my husband, it was purely a collaborative relationship from beginning to end, with no physical or romantic involvement whatsoever. But the fact that she had destroyed my family's happiness was an undeniable truth. Therefore, she also accepted Victor taking her belongings and selling them for money to compensate me. Not only that, but she also made a large donation to my two children's savings accounts in the name of charity, hoping that when they grew up, they could use that money as startup capital. She also expressed her intention to entrust her only daughter to me for upbringing, because Victor had told her that I had two sons and always dreamed of having a daughter. All she needed was for me to be willing to forgive Victor. Victor also told me the heartbreaking truth about Quinn Yen's death. She had died at the hands of Stella, Martin's official wife. After breaking up with Martin, Quinn Yen's life was already incredibly difficult and full of challenges. Added to that was the burden of hatred for her parents' deaths. Along with postpartum depression, her spirit had long reached the brink of collapse. That day, Stella had asked her to meet, using the excuse of discussing a lawsuit related to the infidelity scandal and asset disputes. Initially, Quinn Yen didn't want to go because she had a bad feeling, but she eventually changed her mind at the last minute. According to witnesses at the scene, the two hadn't even exchanged many words before they began to argue loudly. During the heated dispute, Stella suddenly grabbed a dinner knife from the table and stabbed Quinn Yen. Seeing that something was wrong, the cafe staff immediately called the police and an ambulance. When Quinn Yen was brought into the hospital's emergency room, her life was hanging by a fragile thread, like a lamp in the wind. The doctor said she had lost too much blood, and it seemed she no longer had the will to live. The chances of saving her were extremely low. However, she still clung on until her loved ones arrived, so she could breathe her last in the arms of those she loved. The final words Quinn Yen whispered into Victor's ear were a sentence full of sacrifice and maternal love. "Protect Anna and the baby. That is the most righteous thing I have ever done in my life." After Quinn Yen's tragic passing, Martin seemed to completely transform into a different person, filled with hatred and a thirst for revenge. He spared no expense, spending a colossal sum of money to hire the best lawyers, with the sole purpose of pressuring the court to give Stella the harshest possible sentence. However, Stella still vehemently denied all accusations, steadfastly claiming that Quinn Yen had stabbed herself. This evasion and denial only further enraged Martin to the extreme. He went mad and sought revenge on Stella's entire family, sparing no one, resorting to all sorts of ruthless tactics. A long time passed. In the small bag that Grace had used when she was first born, I accidentally found an old letter. It was a letter Quinn Yen had written to her beloved baby daughter, Grace. In the letter, she painfully admitted that she was not a good mother, but she also said that she had found a better mother for her child, one who would care for and love her in her stead. Along with that heartfelt letter, I also found an old, faded photograph. In the photo was a scene on a pouring rainy day, two women covered in mud sitting on the wet pavement. One was Quinn Yen, and the other, reaching out to help her up, was none other than me. Memories that seemed to have been completely forgotten suddenly surged back into my mind. I remembered. One day, on the way home from taking my son to school, a huge downpour suddenly started. That day, I had indeed helped a sobbing woman up in the rain. Before leaving, I even left her an umbrella. Now that everything was clear, I realized that that day was when Martin had just agreed to the arranged marriage, and Stella, out of jealousy and fear, couldn't wait any longer and deliberately drove into her. Quinn Yen had written in her letter that at her most desperate moment, I was the one who gave her a bit of courage to continue living. Afterward, she sought out Victor, who was also on the verge of losing his job due to Martin's company's suppression. They quietly signed a rental agreement, a tacit understanding. From then on, the two of them started dating as lovers but actually lived together like siblings, relying on each other. She thought that as long as she had someone else by her side, she could win Martin's heart back, clinging to the love they once shared. But life is always full of ironies, things no one can foresee. As I gathered all the pieces of the past, stringing together seemingly disparate events, I gradually realized something. Perhaps Stella wasn't entirely lying. It's very possible that during their argument, Quinn Yen herself lunged at the knife. Because she knew that only if she died, truly died, would Martin hate the Stella family as deeply as he once hated the Yen family years ago. Therefore, when Stella threatened to expose her secret transfer of assets and sue me in return, Quinn Yen resolutely chose to end her own life. She wanted to protect me, to protect her precious little daughter. And the sole reason she stubbornly married Victor, accepting all criticism and public disparagement, was also because of me. Because she had said that she was not a good mother, but she had found a good mother for her daughter, someone worthy of loving and caring for the child. When all the truth was revealed, I only felt that fate was too cruel, too ruthless. Victor once begged me not to hate her. She might be selfish, might have done incomprehensible things, but she also had understandable reasons, pains that outsiders could hardly fathom. As the first wife, the legal wife of course, I could not forgive her. But as a woman, I understood her pain and the turmoil in her heart, the torments she had to endure. If I had been the one to encounter Martin, perhaps I would have been even more desperate, even crazier than her many times over. When little Grace turned 3, I changed her name to Ivy Yen. I also told her that she actually had 2 mothers who loved her very much in different ways. Her birth mother was a great woman, daring to love, daring to hate, always clear-headed and strong. Her adoptive mother was also a resilient, gentle, and calm woman who would always protect her throughout life. Victor remained with us, still an indispensable part of this small family, but we never remarried. I told him directly that the money was willingly given to me by Quinn Yen, and no one should even dream of taking a single cent. He just smiled without saying anything, as if he understood my feelings better than anyone. Every day, he still went out early in the morning and came home late, but he no longer wandered aimlessly looking for opportunities. Instead, he diligently studied at the library, worked hard to pass civil service exams, and finally joined the state-owned construction group, Zhangjian. 2 years after joining, he proactively resigned, using the connections he had accumulated during his time there to open his own construction company. Then, in just 1 more year, he reclaimed his deceased wife's family's real estate company, the company that had been maliciously taken over years ago. At that point, my once ordinary, unremarkable husband had gained enough power to confront the mighty Martin family. Finally, in the 6th year, the Martin family's tax evasion and financial fraud were exposed. After the Martin family went bankrupt, Martin's parents either fled abroad to escape legal punishment or committed suicide, unable to bear the immense shock. As for Martin, after Quinn Yen's death, he divorced Stella. Every day he lived, he furiously sought revenge on Stella's family, using ruthless methods no different from how he had treated the Yen family years ago. Netizens said that the heir of the Martin family, after losing the one he loved most, had turned into a mad dog, biting everyone he saw, having lost all reason. Once he had avenged all the hatred in his heart, he began to live a decadent life, drowning himself in alcohol and indulging in pleasure with women day after day. It was rumored that all the women he sought out, from their eyes to their physiques, were exactly like Quinn Yen, but no one could replace her in his heart. Sometimes, survival is the cruelest form of punishment, a burden no one wants to carry. But he was too young, not strong enough to endure that invisible torment. Finally, on a drizzly morning, he jumped from the rooftop of the hospital where Quinn Yen had died, ending his short and sorrowful life. Quinn Yen had changed Grace's birth date, so until his last breath, Martin never knew he had a daughter in the world. After his death, the once illustrious Martin family completely collapsed, turning into smoke and ashes, the great fortress fallen. From then on, in High City, there was no longer the Martin family, only Victor Group. As for Victor and I, we lived together until old age, but we never remarried, maintaining this special relationship until the end of our lives. Music.